At number 10 we have the villainess Reverse the Hourglass. This manhwa is about Arya Rasente, the daughter of Karen Rasente, an entertainer who managed to raise her social status immensely by marrying into the family of Count Rasente, also known as the richest noble family in the empire. Upon entering noble society, Arya Rasente was consistently get side-eyed by the people that surrounds her, a problem worsened by her lack of knowledge regarding etiquette as a result of her upbringing as well as her spoiled behavior, and because of that, Arya spent the rest of her life in the shadows of her little sister Miel, who was described as the perfect noble lady and the person who, despite not saying so openly strongly, but she actually resented both Arya and her mother, plotting to ruin Arya's life and taking everything that she deserved. At some point, Miel started sending her maids to accompany Arya and encourage her to engage in bad behavior towards her, specifically setting up the narrative of a gentle and elegant noble lady being victimized by her evil stepsister. And with the plan that Miel has, Arya was executed following an attempt to kill Miel by poisoning her tea, which had naturally been proposed by one of her maids in the first place, only for her to be sent back in time around the time when everything started. This manhwa is literally one of the best manhwa of all time. It just happened that I always forgot to recommend this one. At number 9 we have Shadowless Knight. This manhwa is about Rosalind of the White Knight Chivalric Order, a person who went missing after suffering from an unexpected enemy attack during a hunting competition. Few days of searching for the body of Rosalind, they were able to find her unconscious and heavily wounded under a cliff, but when she woke up a few days later, she was rendered incapable of even simple speech due to acute amnesia. She roamed around the house, barefoot in her pajamas, and spoke without honorifics. She would even eat food off the floor. This action made her little brother doubt the identity of Rosalind that is in their house. She knows her sister as a person who has a respected and high authority image, and when he remembered the things that her sister always thought to him, he unknowingly take action and confront Rosalind, only to find out that his real sister has already died and the Rosalind that's in their house is the shadow of Rosalind who help her to convey the last wish of the real Rosalind. This manhwa is creeping me out, I'll be honest, but the plot and the idea of a villainess in the making is really made jam, and I love that for this manhwa. At number 8 we have The Villainess Needs a Tyrant. This manhwa is about Maribel, an orphaned at the age of 7 and was naive to think her uncle took her in out of love and bond, thinking that his uncle promised to return the House of Edenbar to her once she has her coming of age, while her uncle kept her father's title and wealth, and when she's about to take the title and wealth that her father leave, she got poisoned by her sweet cousin after she learned that her uncle's plans to go against the emperor, and when she was about to die, she got a second chance at life, and with that, she vowed to take all the things that is supposedly from her father and family. She also think of a plan to take on them and make them suffer from all the things that she's been trophed because of them, even when everybody may call her a villainess, but she'll gladly use the tyrant emperor for her own selfish interests. This manhwa is really good, not that good to the point that I freak out reading this, but when you read this, you can find yourself thinking or maybe spacing out from reading the manhwa, though it has a good plot, but this manhwa is just an ordinary manhwa. At number 7 we have Why She Lives as a Villainess. This manhwa is about Jungyun, a person who transmigrate to the body of Lishan, who wakes up after a terrible accident and finds that she has become Lishan Fusernan, a character of a cliché romantic fantasy novel. It feels like she's woken up inside a nightmare after the realization hits her. She tried everything to come back into the modern world to the point that she that can harm her, but every time she does that, someone always been there to protect her. Disappointed as she is, she quickly accepts her fate and decides to make the best of her new life, starting with a plan to stay away from the residence that she in right now. Well, the good news is that Lishan's character has a happy ending, but the bad news is that she's supposed to die once to get it, between her foiling abusive father who plans of committing treason, while she's trying to find a way out of her engagement to the crown prince and avoiding the strange duke who seems to be stalking her. This manhwa is actually awesome. It has a funny aura and really good plot that can make you engage from the start to the end of the novel. At number 6 we have The Princess Imprince a Traitor. This manhwa is about the 7th imperial princess Evenrose, a person who once died and experienced the vivid downfall of their family. Her last memory was when the royal family was destroyed by the rebelling slaves, and of her sister who had sided with the rebels and urged her to escape her painful execution by swallowing poison. But when she opened her eyes again, she realizes that she had gone 8 years back in time, back to a time before her cruel sister Bridget was chosen as the next emperor. Given the opportunity to prevent the fall of the imperial family by being chosen as the next emperor herself, she decides to write her own article about Michael, the king of Homunculus and the monster of public prison in order to win the emperor's heart. This manhwa is really good, it giving that sibling war between two ladies who needs to achieve something in life. But I know you guys can tell that I side for even Rose from start to beginning, so if you want a manhwa that can give you the chills to be angry with somebody, then this manhwa might be for you. At number 5 we have Duchess of the Glass Greenhouse. This manhwa is about Reina, a person who got cursed as the princess who killed her parents after an incident occurred that make both her and her brother orphan, and because of that, Reina lives on her side, while her brother is taking a meditation for him to rule the high noble status of their family that comes down after that accident. One time, when her brother already had his coming age, a party to open the house of Reigns' family in the society, she unknowing meet the Duke Heatville, a person who's known as a cold as ice person who and a person who also has the after as Reina, and in order for them to leave, they got marriage and had a son, but because of the trauma that Reina had, she can't express her love to his son that much, and so the Duke's house decided to take the son and raise him into the other family branch, and when she's about to die, she saw how her sons don't show much affection to her that made her question the style of her living, and so when she got turned back into the time before all this things happens, she decided to change the flow of her life and straighten her will to fight for her loved one. At number 4 we have Lips on the Top of a Knife. This manhwa is about the mad dog of the empire, Arn, also known as the strongest knight ever despite her gender. She got acknowledged by the kingdom as one of the greatest hero of the generations. But her mother don't want her only daughter to be like this, so she tried hard to convince her to date someone or else she's going to marry her off. And when the decision that Arn did, her mother got left no choice but to ask permission to her brother who's the emperor to marry off her daughter to a neighboring country. At first Arn don't actually like the idea of being a bride to a duke she never meet or knew in her life, and so her mother advised her that if the duke does not pass her standard in men, she has the kingdom's back to kill someone. But when Arn saw her soon-to-be husband, she was shocked because no one ever told her how beautiful her fiancé was, and not just that, he also treat her a lady and don't make her some absurd request. This manhwa is actually fun to read. It has that idea of kill the villainess since both of them are women who's really good at wielding sword. At number 3 we have the perfect ending plan of the villain in a fairy tale. This manhwa is about Lady Marusha, a character in a novel where she's destined to die in 3 years, but when a soul from the modern world take over her body, everything started to change, from the start of treating her little sister who gets constantly abused from her father and brother, because of the fact that her little sister's cry turns into diamond in a second. With the knowledge of how the Noel will fall and shall die, she decided to take an action into things that might get her in trouble, but the soul of Marusha inside her body is not full adapted as a half personality of her, so she sometime unconditionally bring the real Marusha. This manhwa is really entertaining, knowing that the real Marusha really has a soft heart with her little sister even before someone take over her body, but she's afraid to show her love to her sister knowing that her father and brother take advantage of her, so she just take a blind eye on what's happening until the new owner take action for her future self. At number 2 we have I Got Married to a Villain. This manhwa is about Regina Blue, a person who got married to the Duke of Urundun. Although the Duke has a beautiful face, Regina still thinks of him as someone who known as a two-faced person, because despite his appearance, he has a really strong will to kill anyone, and one time when Regina was wandering around the forest, she witnessed how the Duke killed someone. This made her scared to death to him, thinking that she might be the next victim after she witnessed that scene, and the reason why I thought that way, was because she's a modern soul who got transmigrant into the world of novels she read, and she knows well that the Duke only falls for the female lead who's her best friend, but surprisingly, these men falls for her for some reason. This manhwa is really 2020 typical manhwa, but it still hits me so hard how good this manhwa is, not the typical manhwa with a strong power or will to leave, but because of the people around her who would do everything just for her own sake. At number 1 we have the predatory marriage between the king and the paladin. This manhwa is about Calliope, a person who's known as the lowly royal who's no better from a beast, but when she was a child, she constantly getting bullied by her sibling who's a legitimate child of the king, while she there alone fig thing the will to live and survive this cruel world, and so she climbed her military rank by going into countless war just to prove herself into the people of the kingdom. And when she got that military support from all the people who supporting her, she started a treason to the crown prince and kill him to be on the spot that she's been craving since she was a child, and with the power in her hand, she started getting back to the people who wronged her when she was a child. This manhwa is really the idea of hard-earned power. She climbed the chamber and proved herself to the people for the kingdom while doing her best to survive. If you a manhwa that can make you inspired into something, then this manhwa might be for you. And that's all for today's recommendation. I hope you guys find a manhwa that caught your interest. If you have any recommendations of manhwa for me to read or to put on my next video, please let me know in the comment section and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you and keep safe.